Octavian weds Antony. A wedding and a strange one sealed the new peace between Octavian and Antony. Antony, big, sensuous, and spectacular, married Octavian's lovely, gentle sister, Octavia. To marry again so soon after the death of her husband, Marsilius, had not been Octavian's desire, but when her brother had explained how important it was for peace of Rome, she had willingly consented. So they had been married, Octavian and Antony. Octavian's sweet face was grave as she entered the dining room of her new home on the Palatine Hill for the first mid-morning breakfast, and there paused before the household shrine. Tenderly she placed a tiny wreath of fresh flowers on each of the 3 small sacred figures before which a lamp was burning. They were her Lars and Penates. These, though the small images no longer stood above the hearth as in early Roman days, wherever they were placed in a home, there was its heart, for they had held its guardian spirits. The central figure symbolized the genius or guiding spirit of the family father. The 2 dancing figures on either side expressed the joy of a well-stocked storeroom and prosperity. In the small flame of the lamp, Octavian could feel the comfort of the glowing hearth and the clear, steady spirit of the home fire that was Vesta. She now sprinkled a bit of salt into the flame with a quiet prayer that she might make this home a happy one for her new husband. Even though I cannot help him protect Rome, she thought, as the Vestal virgins do by tending the sacred hearth fire of the city, here in my own home I can do my part. Her face shone with the thought. Antony, watching her from the couch at the dining room table, felt a sudden embarrassment. What had he, with his past, to do with one so delicate and pure? Could he change his life, forget her whom he had loved in Egypt, and settle down in Rome? Rome was a rough market town compared to Alexandria, but it was home, and this sweet little wife, with her quaint old-fashioned ways, was certainly refreshing. He drew her to him as she came near the table, kissed her, and whispered something in her ear that made her blush. At that he laughed aloud and patted her hand in his big, easy manner. Octavian smiled back primly, surprised to find this man of the world so like a boy. How could the ugly things people said about him possibly be true? If he spent his nights drinking and carousing, it was because he never had a real home. If Cleopatra beguiled him, it was because Fulva had been too busy doing outside things, big masculine things, for which she, Octavian, had no talent. But now she would care for Antony and make him feel comfortable. That was all she was sure a man needed to be happy. As the winter wore on, however, it came as a disappointment to see that Antony was not entirely contented. For instance, he had been most gruff about trying on the new toga she was making for him, and he seemed hardly able to endure the company of her brother Octavian without bursting into rage. As long family dinners, like that of the Saturnalian, it was most difficult to keep the peace. While trying to entertain her sister-in-law, an older woman whom Octavian had now married for political reasons, she had to keep an eye on the gaming table. That was where the great irritation lay. No matter what game the 2 men played, Octavian always won. At dice, mora, cockfighting, whatever it was, luck was never with Antony. When he played against Octavian, it actually seemed as if his genius or guiding spirit grew weak and deserted him. And there, though Octavia was unaware of it, was a secret thought that was annoying Antony. An Egyptian soothsayer whom he had consulted in Alexandria had first put the idea into his mind. Now, at Cleopatra's bidding, the Egyptian had followed Antony to Rome and was warning him to avoid Octavian. When this man is present, I tell you, the Egyptian whispered, your guiding spirit becomes weak and unmanly. When he is far away, your genius becomes strong again, and good fortune awaits you. Why then do you tarry here in his shadow? Why indeed, thought Anthony, why stay in Rome? What was there to do in this dull western town? But though he felt dissatisfied and bored and restless, Antony stayed on in Rome with Octavia through the spring and summer. And then one morning a tiny rosebud of a daughter was laid at his big feet. Following the ancient custom, Antony picked up the little one to acknowledge her as his child and laughed aloud to see that wee unfolded face so like his own. They named her Antonia. At almost the same time, Octavian's Julia put in her appearance. Octavian divorced her mother, Scribonia, the day that she was born. But from that day on, he idolized his little daughter, though in later years she was to cause him nothing but trouble. In time to come, these two baby girls were to have a great-grandson by the name of Nero, who, it is said, was playing his fiddle while Rome burned.